I think you're on mute, Mihio.
Welcome back, everybody. I, I didn't know I was on mute, but we are live, and
Yes.
we're wanting to just celebrate the third anniversary of the Navajo and Hopi Families No COVID-19 Relief Fund. Yeha Nido. The organization was organized or created on March 15th, which is today, 3 years ago. And it was at that time that our founder and former executive director, Ethel Branch, had reached out to a group of indigenous matriarchs, 12 of them, to form this organization to come together to provide relief to our most vulnerable and immunocompromised and just elderly populations of the Navajo and Hopi family, of the Navajo and Hopi communities. As we had organized, we also took into account that we have Hopi relatives that needed, uh, that we wanted to assist. And so we've had some great partners throughout our existence here. And as we had talked about earlier in the day, we talked about donors and fundraisers. But right now we'd like to talk about partners. And I think it's important to know that we have had some great partners in. In the Hopi Foundation. They were really integral in what we were doing. And Sam and Hannah Honani from the Hopi Foundation, they're sisters, and they were great to have helped us and to have organized with us and facilitated any relief that we wanted to assist them with. It's important to know that they were also organizing on their own within the Hopi communities, and we thought it'd be good of us to try to assist them. So we want to recognize them as partners. As we had undertaken a lot of our early direct relief efforts, we had to partner with groups and individuals. We had to reach out to our chapters, our chapter leadership, grassroots organizations, to be able to facilitate some of these deliveries of direct relief, food distributions, PPE distributions. Um, and at certain times, because of the nature of the shutdown and the public health orders, it was hard to get into certain communities because the Navajo Nation was very restrictive. However, we were able to work very closely with the Chinle chapter, and I think that that's another thing that's worth noting is that the Chinle chapter government, they were great partners with the Navajo and Hopi Families COVID-19 Relief Fund. At the time, Chinle chapter president Rosanna Jumbo Fitch was an integral leader that helped us. And we want to note that also that during the relief funds phase 1 and phase 2 relief efforts, Chinle chapter government stepped forward as a critical partner to assist our relief efforts by mobilizing volunteers through their partnership with AmeriCorps, serving as a central distribution hub and organizing food and PPE distributions throughout the Chinle chapter region and beyond. So Chinle chapter, as a partner with us, didn't just serve their communities, but they were a central distribution hub where we could go and organize and get out to further communities. A lot of them in the central agency, but many of them in western as well too. And I think even some stretched into northern and eastern. They were kind of a center, a hub, as I've said, for us to distribute from, and it's important for us to recognize their work. Chinle chapter also recognized our partnership with them, and they hosted a appreciation lunch to us, to our phase one and phase two efforts, so, of the relief fund. And at that time, our former executive director, Ethel Branch, had told them that that they were the best examples of what it means to be the Neh, that they were frontline warriors, putting their health on the line to help us, and that what they did was historic and selfless, and they committed to taking care of our health and well-being, our children and our elders and our immunocompromised, and that a lot of our distribution efforts wouldn't have happened without the Chinle chapter. So that's important to note. And I just want to also say that, our deputy, Cassandra Begay, was very important in organizing and facilitating a lot of our communication and our partnership with the Chinle chapter. She helped organize and lead food distributions that were happening in that area. And Cassandra, who can't be here today, did say that, they were the MVPs and the heroes that helped protect and save many of our Navajo and Hopi lives during the pandemic. And Cassandra was noted that she's honored to have worked with the Chinle chapter during our time when we had partnered with them, and a lot of our work with the Relief Fund and wouldn't have been possible without their strategic partnership and their selfless acts of service to our community and dedication to their community and beyond. So Chinle chapter vice president at the time was Shauna Claw, and she was currently elected as a council delegate for Chinle. But she helped assist the relief efforts, and she volunteered, to become a leader. So it's important to note that Chinle chapter delegate, former chapter vice president Shauna Claw, was very integral in helping us facilitate our distributions. So I just wanted to kind of shout out both of those individuals, and I also wanted to just acknowledge the Chinle chapter. We did when we did have that appreciation lunch there. It was awesome to have Teresa, or Senator Teresa Hatatli. She phoned in and she was talking to the group, and she just wanted to say at the time that we all wanted to make sure that our relatives, our children, and our parents and grandchildren would be safe, and that the role of the Chinle chapter in assisting us was just crucial. So yeah, I just wanted to note that the partnerships with Chinle were great. We did have so many volunteers that we wanted to talk about as well too, and some of our partners as well were like AJ Myers. He helped with the heating program. We did have Glenda Wheeler and Hector Ray really leading the charge in terms of getting our distribution efforts happening throughout the region, all over the Navajo Nation. But they were really key volunteers that set up and organized the distributions. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mary. Mary, maybe you want to highlight some of our other partners that had kind of helped our efforts early on.
We had so much support from local chapters. Just volunteers, actually, leaders from local, volunteers from all over the nation, even chapters when they were supposed to be shut down. There were volunteers that are employees of the chapter. They kind of went out of their way to make sure that their communities were being served, and it was powerful for that type of action, to see that type of action when the rest of the nation was on lockdown. It was really difficult for us to serve our communities, and I'm so glad that everyone stepped up. But yeah, with Chinle chapter, they, like Cassandra said, yeah, they are. They were, I was sending food to them every week. And so, for example, I would check in with Walton Yazzie, the chapter manager, and Colin, and I would, ask them what their capacity level looked like that, the following week, and we were going week by week. And so, they would reserve maybe 300 for their chapter, and every other week, and then, the other 600 or 700, they would go out and do mobile distributions at all the neighboring chapters, all the way from Rock Point, Round Rock, Saley, Lokachike. They've served communities such as, Noslini, Cottonwood, Blue Gap, and all the way into Pinyon sometimes. But we also had, let's see, they even went as far as Chimbito, to the north, and many farms to serve their community, to help their neighboring chapters. And so, yeah, that does exemplify, and so it was really nice to work with them. And they also allowed us to use their storage for this long. We still have some items that will be selling soon. We have some appliances that we would like to sell. But yeah, keep an eye out for the advertisement flyers on our website. We might even have a fleet for sale, since we're the COVID numbers are down, and our work is going to be directed to long-term sustainability. So there's not a need for some of the things that we did have, that there's not a need for the things that we were using before. So Chinle chapter is able to store some of those items for us. And even let's see, I think the Navajo Nation Diabetes program out of Kayenta, the Kayenta Township was very instrumental. They offered us a space, which is a fitness center, and they gave us a really good rent deal. It was practically free, and we're so glad that we were able to receive those types of support. The Kayenta Clinic was heavily involved with our distributions in Kayenta to serve neighboring communities. AmeriCorps, both in Chinle and AmeriCorps in Kayenta. And then for a little time there, we had Tuba City AmeriCorps with Mike Sixkiller. We're able to partner with some of the larger distributors or larger vendors like Shamrock, Sovereign Partners. So they were our supply chain when the public store supply chain was broken. We're able to secure large amounts of supply through the larger vendors, through with bulk orders and so forth. And of course, I'm so glad that Vanessa had those connections too. She was the first to initiate those contacts before I had came on board to help with the coordination for Arizona. She was taking care of both, actually. So once I took over Arizona coordination, she was able to oversee the New Mexico area. And so she worked with the vendor Labatt, so and we also were able to, I think, utilize St. Mary's Food Bank for a short amount of time from the beginning. Um, we even had folks asking for donations out of Phoenix, and they were shuttling things back home, um, and we tried different designs. Once, you know, um, the numbers went down just a bit for the summer. We tried like a different distribution model. We tried like a subscription program to have available to um, for the community members. It was just like the free boxes that we were giving out, and we thought maybe we'd try something like HelloFresh. Are you guys familiar with that? It was kind of like that. I mean, we didn't mention it before, but after I was like, hey, this is kind of like HelloFresh. But we tried to initiate something like that where we had like a food box subscription program where somebody would donate some item or don't pay for a box and donate it to a family, or even if let's say I wanted to buy a box for my mom, then I could send that, pay for a box, and then it could be delivered to her, or she can go pick it up at Monument Valley Taipitin Sky Community Center. So we had that kind of business model, but it didn't, and it was a pilot, so it didn't work out too well. It didn't work out as well as we had hoped. So we've tried so many different types of things, and we're just so thankful for all the different types of uh, partnerships and how we're allowed to um, try different models and so forth. We even worked with some organizations out in Utah, out of New Mexico, and is um, so with Utah, we partnered with Sahar and her organization. I think we've also partnered. We had some volunteers out of, I think, Aneth, and so they were able to cover certain areas like Red Mesa and Mexican Hat and Old Jeto and the more remote rural areas. Um, and of course, it was always very helpful to get local volunteers, people that knew the area, people that knew the people. It was very important because um, some of the areas, some of the locations that we were serving people at, it, you know, there's no signs where some of these deliveries were happening, and so we had to really make sure that we were getting the support of the community members, and a lot of people stepped up. We even had, I think, the Navajo Parks and Recs out this way. They were serving communities. There was businesses, canyon businesses that were donating food, to their staff, to local communities in great need. So everybody just really pitched in and stepped forward, and it was very, even though it was really hard times for each and every one of us, and a time of like uncertainty and a lot of stress of not knowing, but what really made it better was our relatives stepping up and helping in any way they could. That did make it feel better. And then we also had of course, Shadena Home Care with Vanessa, they're a strong partner even to this day. Um, and there was another home care, I think two other home care um, organizations as well. There's one here in Page, I think it was Infinity. That's a senior, like a home care organization. And then there's also Soaring Eagle, which is on the south side of the Navajo Nation near Dilcon and Gallup. So they were able to serve from that area. Um, And then there's just different chapters. I think Alfreda Earl from Cornfields chapter, you know, Lori Chi from St. Michael's. I'm not sure she's there anymore, but I mean, all those people stepped up, and you know, they were able to help make things happen. Glenda, oh my gosh, Glenda and Hector and Amanda and everyone, you know, they're just so amazing. And, you know, so glad, thankful for their kind hearts and their willingness to help the communities. And in New Mexico, we had, you know, the very supportive matriarchs, young matriarchs like Janine Yazzie and Kim Smith Shadeja, and you know, the organizations that, you know, they were able to pull together to serve families in St. Michael's, to serve on the other side of the mountain of Cheska Mountain, you know, on Highway 491. Um, so I think Kim Smith was mainly serving the northern part of New Mexico near Shiprock, and then halfway through New Mexico, like all the way maybe up into Sheep Springs, Cove, Tisnas Bus, those areas. And at one time, I think her group was making deliveries all the way out to Round Rock and Mexican Springs and Red Mesa. So yeah, they covered a large portion. And so one thing we were not able to do was get a stronger organization to in the Shiprock area. I mean, we had planned on getting like securing a building and so forth, but thankfully we had two very awesome volunteers that later became staff to you know, help with distributions when we became more strategic with the isolation kits. So there's so many partners, like Kevin Begay from Sheep Springs chapter, and all the officials there. You know, they were always very supportive, and they offered up space and a location for us to send our food, so they can host a distribution. You know, we worked with Standing Rock chapter before. I know we were sending food to Standing Rock chapter, and the amazing thing about Standing Rock chapter is they had you know, they were the hub, like they were the main distribution point for the 19 other surrounding chapters. So they were able to coordinate something with the other neighboring chapters, and they would come straight to Standing Rock to get their share of the supplies that was being shipped. So you know, big thanks and kudos to chapter president Johnny Johnson and Janice Padilla, you know, the business manager, the chapter manager there. And so it was really nice to work with them. And I know we were sending more supplies all the way out to Rema, and then to Tohajile. I think we had done that at one point. But yeah, everybody's just been awesome. It was great to work with everybody, and I hope we can get to some point, you know, in that aspect again, not because of the pandemic, but because we want to help our communities get better service, get better broadband service, get better you know, community service workshops to teach our community members, our youth, our elders, and just reteaching a lot, and just coveting that community interrelatedness
Mhm.
to support one another so we can grow and be strong and be ready for anything so we can be pandemic proof, really.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Mary. Yeah, definitely want to shout out Johnny Johnson out at the chapter president out at Standing Rock. We went out there when we were doing our holiday food distribution, and he was very welcoming. He talked about how that they were kind of also a central hub in Eastern to relay distribution. Um, Needs and goods out to the other communities. So Johnny Johnson was a very important part of our organization in terms of getting distributions out there, as well as early on. I know that we worked with Delegate Carl Slater when we were trying to get to facilitate some distributions out in the area of his chapter region up through up around look at guy. I know that's not his chapter, but he was able to help us kind of facilitate some things in that area. Also, I know Vince James had helped us, and he did also kind of recognize our staff member Glenda Wheeler before council for our work that we had done in terms of providing relief to his area as well. I think although our relationship with this organization was a little bit different, but Made to Save really kind of was a great organization to work with in terms of getting our vaccination campaign on its feet and on the airwaves and out into the newspapers. It was good to work with them because they were such a great resource for a lot of the information that was coming forth the about the COVID virus, about the variants, um, about the vaccines, and so it was great to be able to work with them. I think also Dr. Lance Whitehair, he was great. He helped us in terms of getting the word out on some of our public forums on the radio. Doctor Who, she was really good in terms of working with us to get some of our information validated because it was coming from an official source and putting forward.
I think we've lost Mihio for a moment, and he's
Um,
frozen.
I was asking in our little
Mary,
chat
you good?
area if we were going to highlight the Ireland trip.
Yes. Yeah,
Sorry,
we can.
Mihio, we lost you for a little bit.
Yeah, something happened. It's all right. Go ahead, guys. You guys can go ahead, and I kind of missed out, but I'll jump back in here.
Oh, okay. I wanted to share some video from our trip to Ireland. As Mary mentioned earlier, we had partnered with the Kindred Spirits, and their goal is to highlight the relationship between the Choctaw and Ireland and how that was continued with the Irish donating to our relief fund and our relief effort. So, myself, Mary Frances, and her son, Jessica Stego, and also Shandine Herrera were able to travel to Ireland to participate in their celebration. So it was a very small event. We're planning on doing it again this year, and this year we're hoping to make it a little bit bigger and have more staff or board members join us for this trip. So I'm going to play some videos. Now these are just from my TikToks that I have, so you're able to see and get a firsthand account experience of our trip. Well, Mary.
Yeah, that was nice to relive that experience. Just now, I just, reminder on how wonderful it was to be there to actually thank the Irish in person, the Irish community in person. So we spent 1 week out there, and thankfully, one of our partners, Kindred Spirit, they helped fund our trip to Ireland, and so they are also an organization that has global reach. They really their work is on global warming and also reducing carbon footprint through veganism. And I've been influenced by them, but I really need to get get back to that. But that is their work, and they're very influential, and they really care about the planet. And so they also, learned about our organization, and they've been following us. And they saw the support from Ireland to our organization, and so we're very thankful that they were able to bring us out and to meet the mayor, Lord Mayor, um, in Cork, Ireland, and hopefully there will be an Ireland trip 2023 this time to meet the president of Ireland, and hopefully well, anyways, that's in the works and in the plan. So, but we do enjoy our partnership with Kindred Spirits. They do invite us to like a weekly meeting on Fridays. They call it a block party, and it's wild because they're on this call 24 hours. 24 hours, 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. And then they get off the call Saturday morning. So they're on the call 24 hours, and they're available to anyone and everybody from all over the world. There's folks calling in from um, India, from Paris, certain parts of the world. I mean, even down south in Mexico, near close to the Amazon. So it's been even through Canada. I think we were getting some calls from Canada, different parts of the world. It's really nice to have that reach. But yeah, we had a very it was very important for us to be there, I think, to experience the hospitality of folks, and also to hear firsthand from the donors. Some of the donors were able to let's see here. So when did we get there? We got there, I think, Sunday, right, Vanessa? And then we flew into Dublin, Ireland, and then we had a driver pick us up. The Kindred Spirit had arranged transportation for us to be picked up from the airport, and so thankfully it was a 2-hour drive. Dublin's like on the northern part of Ireland, so it's a good several hour drive. So we drove all the way down to Cork, Ireland, which is on the southern part of Ireland. And the landscape was so beautiful, like lush green plants, grass, and just hedges, bushes that's always watered. There's no desert there. And but it was really interesting for me to see and observe. And I know Jessica had made a point where um, they weren't using fences, but they were using the hedges to as a fence, and then that in return was protecting the soil, and it was allowing for vegetation to grow. And so the way they had engineered their agricultural portion of their land, that was really nice to see. Um, and then so that was on our trip down to Cork, Ireland, and we were able to stay in a place that the organization had uh, paid for, and it was like I think an Airbnb. So we were able to all stay in one building or one location, and so that's where we would have our morning meetings. And I know on the second, was it the second, third day was super busy. That was like the longest day ever. um and that's when we went out to the memorial park, and we were able to meet the community, and we joined in on music and prayer and just singing and telling our stories. And so it was a really beautiful experience. I can let you did you want to share anything else, or maybe the other part of the the week? I can make some time.
Well, yeah, you mentioned day 3. We had the celebration at the Kindred Spirits Monument, and then we took a bunch of group pictures with everybody. And then after that, we went to this hotel for their conference, and they did a press conference there. So we were a part of that, and it was a very long day. We did our presentation there again, and each of us um, did a little snippet of what our organization is about. We also mentioned that we were very grateful to the donors. And then after that day, we were able to sightsee and take in the whatever Ireland had to offer, which was so very beautiful. I think the best part of the trip was being able to hear a firsthand account of the elder there. And she had mentioned that her family had lived through and barely survived through the potato famine. And it was just really touching. And she sang a song, and it brought me to tears. And it's just knowing that, that simple gesture of providing some funding for food, it might just be like a one-time kind of thing, but it's definitely something that helped them and gave them hope, and they were able to survive that desperate time in their history. But there's a lot of similarities that we have with the country of Ireland. Navajo Nation, including the Hopi Nation, is the same size as Ireland. So I know on the map it looks much bigger than it is, but it's just the way, the sphere is set out on the map. But yeah, that's my insight there, and I'm looking forward to going again this summer if we can make that happen. I definitely would like to have a bigger event and meet more of the leadership there in Ireland.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like we have some not only partners within the United States, we have international partners, and our organization has been able to strengthen these partnerships by visiting them and being able to just kind of organize other future events. And so, I think it's also just important to just keep acknowledging the people that we've worked with locally and regionally. Some of our partners are NGOs and our grassroots organizations. When it came down to it, having the, the boots on the ground, so to speak, types of partners and volunteers was really important. But we were only able to engage those people through these larger partnerships, and support that kind of trickles down to getting our services out into these communities. So I just wanted to I wish I could have went to Ireland. I need to get a passport. I don't have a passport, but there's one total reason to get one, because yeah, it looked
Yeah.
like a great time, and that Kindred Spirits monument is beautiful. And I think you guys did a great job when you were there. But yes, I think we're at the end of our discussion here, and we have another one coming up in 15 minutes, community centers. So if you guys would like to join us again in about 15 minutes, and we will talk about our community centers. So thank you, and we'll talk to you guys in a minute.